know there's a light that glows by the front door. Don't forget the keys under the mat. When childhood stars shine, always stay humble and kind. Don't expect a free ride from no one. Don't hold a grudge or a chip, and here's why. Bitterness keeps you from flying. Always stay humble and kind. Hold the door, say please, say thank you. Don't steal, don't cheat, don't lie. I know you got mountains to climb, but always stay humble and kind. When the dreams you're dreaming come to you, when the work you put in is
morning. We are going to get back to finish up our session from yesterday. So I'm going to go ahead and call our meeting to order, September 15th. Clerk, can you call the roll?
Thank you, Supervisor Vargas. Vice Chair Vargas, just to note for the record, we're calling to order the September 15, 2021 San Diego County Board of Supervisors regular and sanitation district meeting. Before I call the roll, I would like to note for the record that one supervisor is participating via teleconference, so all votes will be handled by a roll call vote. With that, Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Here.
Supervisor Desmond.
Here.
Vice Chair Vargas.
Vargas here.
And Chair Fletcher.
Fletcher here.
Thank you.
Our first item on the agenda is item number 1.
Thank you. This is a continuation of item number 1 from yesterday's agenda, entitled Sheriff Establish Appropriations and Adopt a Resolution for Fiscal Year 2021 Alcoholic Beverage Control Alcohol Policing Partnership. We had 2 requests to speak on this item, one in person and one by phone. For the individual that requested to speak on this item by phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speaker, and I'd like to invite forward Audra Morgan. If you're here in the chamber or in one of the overflow rooms, please come forward at this time. And Vice Chair Vargas, not seeing any movement in the chamber from that speaker or the caller that requested to speak on this item. That would conclude public comment on item number 1 from yesterday's agenda.
All right. Any comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, can you call the roll, please? Motion. Oh, we need a motion.
I'll move to approve item 1.
Second.
Thank you. Can you call the roll, please?
Thank you. Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond.
Aye.
Vice Chair, excuse me, Supervisor Desmond and Vice Chair Vargas.
Vargas, aye.
Chair Fletcher.
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes with all supervisors who are present voting aye.
Thank you. Our next item is item number 2, notice of public hearing. Clerk?
Thank you. This is a continuation of an item from yesterday's agenda as well. Item number 2, notice public hearing fiscal year 2021 consolidated annual performance and evaluation report for housing and community development services entitlement programs, and a resolution approving an application for funding and the execution of a grant agreement and any amendments thereto from the 2021 through 2022 funding year of the State Emergency Solutions Grant Program Continuum of Care allocation notices of funding availability. We also had 2 requests to speak on this item, one in person and one by phone. For the individual that requested to speak by phone on item 2 from yesterday's agenda, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions provided to you. I'd like to invite forward the in-person speaker, Audra Morgan. If you're here in the chamber or in the overflow room, please come forward. We also had a request to speak by phone, Richard Golden, for item number 2 on yesterday's agenda. Not seeing any movement in the conference line or in the chamber. That concludes public comment on item number 2 from yesterday's agenda.
Thank you, Clerk. Is there a motion to approve? I know there's a presentation.
I'll so move on item 2.
Okay. Is there a second? All right, motion and second. Can you call the roll?
Thank you. Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond.
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas.
Vargas, aye.
Chair Fletcher.
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes with all supervisors who are present voting aye.
And thank you to the team for all the work. We appreciate it. Item number 4, Clerk.
Thank you. This is item number 4 from yesterday's agenda as well, entitled Ratify the Application for Grant Funds from the Federal Communications Commission's Emergency Connectivity Fund to provide laptop and mobile internet hotspots to households in need in the county library service area. We had 3 requests to speak on this item, 2 in person and 1 by phone. Again, for the individual that requested to speak by phone on this item, please dial into the conference line using the instructions provided to you. For the individuals that request to speak in person, I'd like to invite forward Audra Morgan and Consuelo. If you're in the chamber or one of the overflow rooms, please come forward. Not seeing any movement in the chamber or in the conference line. That concludes public comment on item number 4 from yesterday's agenda.
Okay. Okay. Is there a motion to approve item 104?
Well, I have a request to, sorry, just hit my button. I got a question on this item.
Okay.
If I could, thanks. Well, I want to say thank you very much to staff and all the hard work, and I know this is monies for laptops for our, for the library districts. Is that right? The library service areas. And I think this is great. I think it's 7,500 or 7,400 laptops. I did notice that there's a list of unincorporated city or unincorporated areas of census tracts that come up to that 7,431 laptops. So my question is how these are going to be distributed. I noticed Borrego Springs, which has a great need, is not on the list. And in my briefing yesterday with staff, thank you very much, my understanding was because there's a large number of P.O. boxes in Borrego, I don't know how all that will fit in, but they did not register as an area of need. So I'd like to protest that. They are an area of need. But I want to make sure the households in the area, go to the kids and families, throughout the county to the most needed households. I realize all they have to do is sign a attestation to say they're eligible. But so what are we going to do to make sure that these go to the areas of need and to the families and households of need as best we can under the guidelines we have? So how are you going to do these?
Absolutely, Supervisor. Let me first mention there was some wonkiness in this data. So this FCC grant was unusual in the sense that the FCC did not give us explicit directions on how to prove need. So often you'll see school lunch participation, for example, for our E-rate. In this case, the FCC left the applicants to themselves to demonstrate need. So we used a data source from the National Telecommunication and Information Administration, from from the Department of Commerce. And this was a great data source for us because, as I said, it reports by census tract households without any internet-connected device. So that was the data. We were surprised as well that Borrego wasn't there, but we're not limited to distribution just to those census tracts. So for sure, we know there's need in Borrego because we have customers who come into the library every day to use our internet and computer. So every branch is really well connected to the community and has a sense of the need. So we'll be using our branches as distribution points, and then also we'll be using community groups within those neighborhoods. So for example, in Borrego, we're really well connected with the Friends of the Library there, and they in turn are on Chamber of Commerce and other local community groups. So we'll be using those groups to make sure we meet the need.
Okay, because it seems like the way it's written, it's a free-for-all. Whoever signs up, and all they have to do is sign something saying, they attest that they are, worthy or meet the eligibility requirements, and there's no real verification or vetting.
Correct. So the FCC is not directing us to means test, again, for example, like school lunch. So it's just the customer, the resident, attesting that they have a need. They have to sign that form, and then the FCC is asking us to keep that record for 10 years.
I get that, but can we put any, I don't know, to me it seems like there's no, I understand what the FCC has put forward. I'm wondering if we can do anything more to make sure that these go to areas of need, because basically anybody can come in, sign up and attest, and they get a free laptop, and it's basically first come, first serve is really what it's going to be. So how can we, I know you're going to say you're going to work with community groups and things like that, but to identify, are you going to say no to anybody that signs the letter?
Supervisor Desmond, we're going to work in advance with the school districts, the community groups, and others to address exactly the issue that you're raising to ensure that these laptops do go to those communities who and the households who need them most.
Okay.
We are not able to add additional criteria because of the way that the FCC had structured the grant, but we do commit to ensuring that we target and we provide these opportunities to those who need them most. And we will have that balance for purposes of all of our library service areas, all of the communities having access to these laptops.
Could we get a report back after these are sent out? And
We are
kinda
happy to do that.
Show us that. Okay, I'd
Absolutely.
appreciate that. And this is a great thing. I love it. I wish we had infinite number of laptops to give out. And I know there's a lot of areas of needs, and this is not going to, but I just want to make sure it's going to the households in the most need, particularly children, if I know you can't do much because of the FCC, but, I'd really, for kids that, maybe are still being, distance learning or things like that, or even to do their homework, they get sent, the school maybe gives them a laptop or something like that. If they don't have the Wi-Fi capability or the ability to do their homework and things like that, that's, I think, a big need, particularly in unincorporated areas and in the poor areas of our county and the city. So I just want to make sure that they're distributed as best you can and then report back. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the item with staff's explanation.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'm happy to second, but I also have a
Okay.
Yeah, great. First of all, I think, just to build on Supervisor Desmond's comments, it seems like we have a natural, we have this equity impact that we've been working on for a long time. So it seems like that would be the natural lens to report back on the questions that my colleague has asked in terms of ensuring that equity is foregrounded and how this program is implemented. So I just wanted to say it's great. Obviously, we all know how important it is to close the digital divide, and never has that been more clear than under COVID. I do want to ask if Escondido can be included in the second round. I did not see them included in this round, and in my district, that is an area where we are severely in deficit in terms of digital connectivity. So I think the question for staff, is there a motion I would need to make today, or is this just something we could work on as we move forward to ensure Escondido is incorporated in the next round?
Supervisor Lawson-Remer, we are happy to look at that next round because, as you've mentioned, there's some additional funding available from the FCC, and to work with the Escondido library system, the school districts as well, in order for us to be able to move forward with an application that encompasses and incorporates some of the other jurisdictions.
That would be great. And when on the public comment piece, I heard one of the people listed was Consuelo, who's a city council member in Escondido. So I think she apparently is interested in this issue since she had signed up to testify. So it sounds like she would be a good place to start. Yeah.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah. I think the only comment that I'll make, in addition to what my colleagues have already said, is that it also might be a good model that we can later also expand, right? So if it's a model that's working and we're getting the tools and we see that this is what a great community needs and we can really close the gap for the digital divide, I mean, it's something that we can look at. And so it'd be great for staff as we're coming back with the data that we can also monitor and see if there's other opportunities in the future as we're looking at our budget distributions later. Thank you. All right, with that, we have a motion and a second, and I'm going to ask to call the vote, please.
Thank you. Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond.
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas.
Vargas, aye?
Chair Fletcher.
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes with all supervisors who are present voting aye.
Thank you. With that, we are now moving into, thank you very much.
Madam Vice Chair, I got a comment I forgot to make on item 7.
Yes, I was going to mention, please go ahead and.
Okay, well, this was on consent item for yesterday's meeting. I forgot to, I wanted to make just a couple comments on it. It's already passed, but I just wanted to give a big shout out to the District Attorney, Summer Steffen, and her team for their continued work on the North County Family Justice Center. It's one safe place. This is a one-of-a-kind center. It's going to be providing all the needed services for victims of domestic violence, including human trafficking, all under one roof. This is a one-stop place. It'll help victims or children with support systems, help them move through any trauma they may have encountered in a dignified way, and it's going to connect them to the resources they need all in one safe place. So I'm very pleased to allocate $50,000 from my community enhancement program to help fund the Free to Thrive family law attorney. Free to Thrive empowers survivors of human trafficking to be free from exploitation, and to thrive by providing them with holistic and trauma-informed legal support services by increasing access to justice for all survivors. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, we're done. Okay, the next item. Thank you. That concludes our Tuesday meeting, so now our next item on the agenda is non-agenda public communication. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board on subjects matter within the board's jurisdiction, but not an item on today's agenda. The only action that the board may take is a referral to the Chief Administrative Officer. Reminder, according to Rule 4, members of the public that are non-English speaking and need interpretation assistance will get twice the allotted time for their comments, which is 4 minutes. To better facilitate the meeting, we will have 5 speakers in person, 5 speakers via phone, and the rest of the non-agenda public communication will be heard at the close of today's meeting. Clerk, do we have any requests for speakers?
Thank you, Vice Chair Vargas. We have a total continued from yesterday of 32 requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda. That is 20 remaining from yesterday and 12 that were submitted today. A number of those individuals are by phone as well as in person. At the board's pleasure, we would take all of the remaining in-person speakers from yesterday's meeting, as well as any individuals that have called in, and then we'll hear from the individuals in person. So I'll go ahead and call all of the individuals that requested to speak in person yesterday under non-agenda public communication. If your name is called, please come forward. Lana Cotton, Jeff No Way, Audra Morgan, Eugene Neal, Jason Robo, Leroy McShoot, Jeff Knoll, Mary Bones, and Zebediah Hutchison. And again, these are individuals that requested to speak yesterday. Seeing no movement in the chamber from those individuals, move on to the speakers that requested to speak in person today. I'd like to invite forward Russell Walsh. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board.
Good morning. If I would have known speaking in Spanish would have gotten me 4 minutes today, I think I would have translated my document for fun too. Unfortunately, I haven't been lucky with my district supervisor being here when I've come down to the meeting so far twice. But I do have an open line of communication with Mr. Anderson, and I came down here to engage all of you today. This Monday, I sent out an email to each of you advancing the introduction I made 2 weeks ago regarding the public benefit and recreation conservation issues at Loveland Reservoir in Alpine. I've requested that an MOU be put in place between the county and the Sweetwater Authority for a public access and fishing program. Details are outlined in my email. Please work together with your county supervisor colleagues to bring this situation under the norms of due process of law and democracy. This will remove all inequities and looming threats of worse destruction at the lake. Supervisor Anderson's staff has told me that there will be a county initiative to explore possible interagency management of lakes in the unincorporated areas. His staff has agreed that I will be kept in the loop as a stakeholder. The MOU and compliance by the Sweetwater Authority should be a condition of bringing the public's interest to the table. There's a link in the email to a file that contains sufficient documents to easily defend the demands along the lines of what I'm suggesting. I would appreciate it if you would look for the email. It's a Loveland Rescue follow-up, and some of your staffs have acknowledged that I've sent out that email, and I appreciate that. It's just really great to get some feedback that my efforts at direct democracy are being seen. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from those that requested to speak by phone. Again, we'll begin with the individuals that requested to speak yesterday, and a number of those also requested to speak today. So those individuals will get 4 minutes for their comments. For those that request to speak by phone, we'll be identifying you by the last 4 digits of your phone number. You'll hear notification that your call has been unmuted. You will then need to press *6 to unmute your line. Each caller will be asked to state their name for the audio record, and you'll have 2 minutes to address the board. Unless you also requested to speak yesterday, then you'll get 4 minutes. I'd remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. And if you could please identify the callers from yesterday.
Our first caller is 2153. 2153, please press *6 to unmute. 2153.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you. My name's Kelly McCormick. I'm the parent of a high school student, a college student, and I'm a public health educator. I want to thank the county for recognizing the need for more accessible mental health care services. I attended last week's webinar on the mobile crisis response team. This looks like a great start, but it will require coordination with law enforcement to be effective. It's very confusing to know who to call and under what circumstances, even for those experienced with the system. Also, I thank the county for bringing attention yesterday to Suicide Prevention Month. Please recognize this. Part of an effective strategy for reducing the rate of suicide must include strategies to reduce marijuana use. There's a significant body of evidence linking marijuana use and suicide, especially in teens and young adults. A 2019 review of multiple publications found that adolescent marijuana use was associated with increased depression in young adults, and it tripled the risk of a suicide attempt. In Colorado, marijuana is the most prevalent substance found in completed teen suicides. Recognize that if you partner with the marijuana industry to bring more marijuana businesses and their aggressive advertising into the county, you will be contributing to the problem. What this does is it normalizes marijuana use among young people, and the advertising just increases their desire to use it. That's why companies advertise, because it works and their products are geared to appeal to young people. And by doing this, people are led to believe falsely that marijuana is harmless. So please recognize this and admit that it does contribute to the suicide problem. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Our next caller is 1822. 1822, please press *6 to unmute.
Good morning, this is Peggy Walker. I came this morning because something interesting happened Monday night at the workshop regarding your proposed but uncalled for ordinance to commercialize marijuana in rural areas. The vast majority of speakers there, including planning group representatives, were opposed. When asked why supervisors are pushing this unwanted ordinance, staff responded because permitted stores would reduce the black market. As for supportive data this would indeed work, staff had none. On the other hand, multiple studies, including one by the Rutgers Center of Substance Abuse, show this promise, which is the primary argument that both politicians use to promote marijuana, has not panned out. Since legalization, California illegal markets are not fading into obscurity, but thriving, according to Rutgers. And in just 1 year, massive illegal busts confiscated 20 tons of marijuana off farms. $8 million worth of plants in a single abandoned warehouse alone, and 100+ illegal operations were busted in just one rural town, ANSA. The black market thrives with legalization and will absorb surpluses as long as California continues to produce more pot than consumed. The Rutgers report showed that police arrests for pot crimes have increased with legalization, and smuggling occurs too frequently for law enforcement oversight. I really don't believe that you supervisors care about my objections. As it appears, this ordinance is an unstoppable train fueled by marijuana industry campaign contributions. But I hope that others will take note. The premise for this ordinance is flawed. The details embedded in this ordinance, please read them. will radically change and harm the character of our rural areas. It will not protect or make us safer. It contributes to the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 6598. 6598. Please press star 6 to unmute.
Good morning, Supervisors. I'd like to, Ann Riddle here, District 3 and 5. I'd like to thank Supervisor Vargas and Anderson for their meeting last week regarding their Transparency Committee. They provided a public opportunity to share with them things that would make what the county does more transparent, and they have provided a survey. I'm hoping that the link to this survey is somewhere on the Board of Supervisors site so that it's really clear how other people can participate. I did share it with our parents since last Tuesday, for whom I advocate. And when you open the survey, there is already a list of 6 items that you can check that had come out of that meeting, plus an opportunity to add more. The general trend of that meeting, and what you'll see when you open the survey, is that our citizens would really like all meetings and committee meetings, particularly, and commission meetings, to be open to the public so that we can have more of an idea of what happens there. And the other general concern has been more notice regarding board letters so that we don't find out on a Thursday what's going to be on Tuesday's agenda that is a board letter of significance. Particularly the county planning groups in the unincorporated areas are concerned about land use decisions that affect only them, and they recognize that they are primarily represented by only 2 of the supervisors, since Vargas and Tara Lassen-Reamer only have 1 planning group in under their purview. And so they particularly are concerned that their planning group get a 30-day notice of any board letter that's going to be on the agenda that affects land use. They have expressed at this meeting and last week, and I understand here at our board meetings, they're concerned that the marijuana ordinance that's advancing came to them without any notice, that they didn't ask for it and they don't want it. And yet it's coming to them primarily at the request of people who don't have any unincorporated land under their jurisdiction. They would really prefer far more notice because they're going to bear the consequences of these board letters. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 1861. 1861, please press star 6 to unmute.
Hello. My name is Kevin Stevenson. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, great. Hello, board. First, I'd just like to say thank you to the majority on the board for voting in favor of women's reproductive rights yesterday. It is very important that we protect those as they are very vital. Also, shame on Jim Desmond for siding with the individuals who spoke yesterday, who, interestingly, in terms of women's reproductive rights, share the same views as the Taliban. And I'm sorry if that sounds like a controversial statement, but that honestly cannot be disputed. It was genuinely disgusting listening to the same individuals who just 2 weeks ago were advocating for my body, my choice in regards to a pandemic, a deadly virus that is incredibly contagious and just letting COVID spread everywhere, all of a sudden advocating for a theocracy that would frankly make Mohammed bin Salman blush. Hey, right-wingers, have you ever heard of separation of church and state? Of course you have. You just ignore that part because you want to control women and treat them like cattle. And I remember that yesterday, that priest from Imperial Beach claimed that he was being told to screw off by people. Well, dude, you were verbally harassing Planned Parenthood patients and staffers. So are you really surprised? Like, you get what you deserve, The majority of Americans are pro-choice and support women's reproductive rights. And let's be clear about something else. The term unborn babies is an oxymoron. Embryos are not babies. They don't have feelings. They don't have brains. They can't live independently from the womb. They are not people.
Thank you. Next caller, please.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is 4592. 4592, please press *6 to unmute.
Good morning, Board. Kathleen Lippett here. I would like to remind the Board of the assurances that they gave to unincorporated communities that their voices would be heard regarding the county's marijuana ordinance. County staff did indeed reach out to county planning group meetings, but the effort turns out that it was merely perfunctory. Instead, it was the marijuana industry's lobbyists whose concerns were reflected in every amendment that was added for and on behalf of the 5 existing marijuana businesses. I don't recall a single unincorporated community priority that made its way into any of the recent amendments. Some of the community concerns and questions posed to county staff at the other night's webinar regarding social equity found the county at a loss to respond. There's nothing to gain by shooting these messengers. County staff is doing their best to put lipstick on this ordinance pig of this socially equitable cannabis proposal. From the beginning, a cost-benefit analysis of the ordinance was requested. One should have been prepared in advance of the ordinance, yet it is still not available. The data and evidence that supports the claims made by the county, this ordinance will address social equity and justice. That needs to be provided because there's no support for it. Neither unincorporated communities nor their elected supervisors, Desmond and Anderson, were consulted or considered prior to the drafting of this ordinance. And for social equity purposes, it seems like the remaining 3 board majorities should be putting these businesses into their districts. That would be socially equitability.
Thank you.
County capture.
Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you. And Vice Chair Vargas, that concludes the request to speak from yesterday, as well as 5 callers today. There are additional callers that we will hear from at the conclusion of the board's public items.
Is the approval of the board meeting minutes, statement of proceedings for the meeting on Wednesday, September 1st, 2021, and the minutes for the sanitation district meetings of June 29th and June 30th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve?
Sure. Move to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Please vote. You can vote on your screen. Or maybe not.
There's a slight delay in the voting system this morning.
Yes.
We'll go ahead and call a roll call. Thank you. While it's catching up with us. Supervisor Desmond, thank you. Supervisor Lawson-Remer?
Yeah.
And Vice Chair Vargas?
Yes.
That motion passes with all supervisors who are present voting aye.
All right. The next item, do you need a second to, maybe a second so that you all can transition. All right. We're good? Okay. We will now proceed with the formation of our consent agenda. Clerk, are there any items that the public wishes to pull for discussion?
Thank you, Vice Chair Vargas. Item 1 has been pulled by the public. Item 2 has been pulled by the public. All the remaining items on the Board of Supervisors agenda, as well as the County of San Diego Sanitation District, may be placed in the consent calendar for your board's consideration.
All right. Thank you. I'm now going to go to my colleagues. Supervisor Lawson-Remer, do you have any items that you would need to move?
Is
1 and 2 are the only ones that were already pulled.
Then we're good.
Okay. Supervisor Desmond?
I have no items to pull, Madam Vice Chair, but I do have comments on item 3. This is to advertise an award for construction contract to establish the appropriations for the Bonsall Community Park Project. This is great. I want to thank the Parks Department and Parks and Recreation for bringing this item forward. Thank you very much. During our budget meeting, the board unanimously approved the funding of this item. Thank you to my colleagues. The San Luis Rey River Park has been in process since 2008. So this has been a long time coming. It's over 500 acres of the river park is dedicated as preserved land throughout this park. So this action will award construction of the contract for 63-acre Bonsall Park located on the old San Luis Rey Downs Golf Course. And the river park is an essential regional asset. It's going to provide recreational opportunities for all our county while advancing open space and preserving land goals. So I want to thank my colleagues for their support of this amazing gem and item in North County that's also going to provide a trail all the way from the beach to the inland to the I-15 with the bike and walking and other amenities. So thank you very much. With that, I'll move approval of the remaining consent items, 3, 4, and 5.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Happy second.
Second by Supervisor Lawson-Weaver, and then, Clerk, can you call it?
Again, our voting system is not catching up with us this morning. So Supervisor Lawson-Remer?
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond?
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas?
Vargas, aye?
That motion passes with all supervisors who are present voting aye.
All right. Thank you very much. Our next item on the agenda is item number 1. Would you like to?
Thank you, Vice Chair Vargas. This is item number 1 entitled Consider Rescinding the Transportation Study Guide Implementing Vehicle Miles Traveled Analysis in the Unincorporated Area.
Are there any public comments? Oh, sorry, staff presentation, sorry.
Good morning, Vice Chair Vargas and members of the board. I'm Mark Slolik with Planning and Development Services. Today, the board is considering rescinding the county's current Transportation Study Guide, or TSG, for vehicle miles traveled, and directing staff to return to the board in January 2022 with additional information related to VMT. The board can receive today's report and take no action, which would leave the currently adopted TSG in place, or adopt the recommended actions to rescind the current TSG. Senate Bill 743 was signed into law in 2013 and changed the way local jurisdictions analyze transportation and land use. The intent of Senate Bill 743 was to balance the needs of congestion management with statewide goals to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, encourage infill development, and improve public health through more active transportation. VMT is calculated by determining the distance and frequency of vehicle trips generated from a specific land use, such as a home or a business. The Governor's Office of Planning and Research, also known as OPR, provided the state's technical guidance in 2016 and updated in 2018 for local jurisdictions to adopt SB 743 and VMT. Lead agencies like the county have the discretion to develop and adopt their own significance environmental thresholds for VMT, provided such thresholds are supported by substantial evidence. They also choose to rely on the criteria recommended by OPR. When analyzing a project's impact on transportation with VMT, the estimated vehicle miles traveled generated by a project is compared to the average VMT generated by existing land uses in a defined area. If a project generates significantly less VMT than the surrounding land uses within that geographic boundary, it is considered to have a less than significant impact on transportation. A project can also be considered to have a less than significant impact on transportation and VMT if it generates less than a specified amount of average daily trips, also referred to as ADT. OPR also identified other criteria that can be used to determine if a project has a less than significant impact on transportation, such as projects that are adjacent to existing major transit facilities. On June 24, 2020, the board adopted the TSG, the technical guide for analyzing transportation impacts using VMT. The TSG describes the process and procedures for project applicants to use when preparing transportation analyses beginning July 1st of 2020. In September 2020, the Cleveland National Forest Foundation, Coastal Environmental Rights Foundation, and Sierra Club filed suit alleging adoption of the TSG violated CEQA and SB 743. The case was most recently on the closed session agenda on September 1st, 2021, and the case is pending and no decision has been issued. On May 19th, 2021, the board received an overview of options as part of the county's implementation of SB 743 and adoption of its TSG for VMT. The board directed staff to explore 13 subject matter areas or items. Staff from PDS, Public Works, and Parks and Recreation, and our technical consultants are evaluating these 13 items listed above and will present their findings to the board in January 2022. 3 of the items included direction to assess and explore the process by which infill development can be done in a manner to ensure no VMT is necessary, explore the potential creation of transit accessible areas, and look at the intersection between VMT efficient areas for lower thresholds in accordance with the areas that do not require further analysis. Explore the potential transit corridors and look at the Sandag Regional Transportation Plan, Metropolitan Transit System, North County Transit District, and other possible areas and how that may impact VMT efficient areas or areas covered by the exemption, and to explore land use density in relation to VMT efficiency and screening. One item was to explore programmatic or plan level mitigation opportunities for VMT, including the concept of a regional mitigation bank. Another item was to explore a by right process for development in VMT efficient areas. 2 of the items included further exploration of exemptions to the VMT thresholds for affordable housing projects at less than 100% affordable, including mixed income and various components of area median income, or AMI, along with exploring the possibility of exemptions for middle income or workforce housing, local hire, and agricultural type projects that might have a net impact of lowering VMT. Another item was to conduct an analysis of proposed housing projects designated for individuals under 60% AMI and under 80% AMI, and the potential cost impact of switching to a regional geography. The board also requested that staff continue to track guidance from OPR, along with other governing body efforts, including the Sandag RTP, and to monitor the progress of other jurisdictions as it relates to their adoption, along with what unique programs, exemptions, or opportunities they may be exploring that the county may also want to consider. The board also directed staff to consider a phase-in timeline to allow for a transition into a regional geography. Another item was to consider compliance options for projects that have already been proposed or are in process now. Another item was to conduct an analysis of the options to remove the local mobility analysis from the TSG. And the last item was to inform the board regarding updates on development of the smart growth component of the Climate Action Plan to ensure it integrated and aligned with efforts around VMT. In its 2018 guidance, OPR recommended that for projects in unincorporated county areas, the lead agency compare a project's VMT to a citywide or the region's average VMT. For example, the city of San Diego could evaluate a project's VMT compared to the citywide average or the overall region's average. However, the OPR Technical Advisory did not define a region and did not make any specific recommendations on the boundary that should be established for unincorporated areas to analyze VMT. On June 29, 2021, OPR clarified that unincorporated areas of counties should use a threshold based on the regional average VMT, which in our case includes the entire San Diego County region. In light of the clarification from OPR that unincorporated areas should use a threshold based on the regional average VMT for the entire San Diego County region, today's request is for the board to adopt a resolution to rescind the current TSG and associated CEQA findings, which have relied on an unincorporated area average for VMT. Rescinding the current TSG will allow staff to evaluate the clarification from OPR to use a regional average for VMT, while also researching and evaluating the 13 items and to return to the board with options. One option could include the preparation of a revised TSG. Staff have contacted in-process project applicants and are meeting with them to discuss their options. Each project will have to develop a specific VMT threshold on a case-by-case basis and provide substantial evidence. or they can choose to rely on OPR's guidance, provided they establish substantial evidence to support using OPR's recommendations for that specific project. For today's report, staff recommends that the board find that today's actions are exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, adopt the resolution rescinding the county's TSG, and direct staff to return to the board in January 2022 with additional information on the 13 items related to VMT that the board directed staff to analyze on May 19, 2021. Based on comments received late yesterday, we also recommend the board rescind the notice of exemption that was filed with the adoption of the TSG. This concludes our presentation, and we are available for questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions from my colleagues? No? Oh, I forgot public comment. Yep.
Thank you, Vice Chair Vargas. We have 16 requests to speak on this item, 5 in person and 11 by phone. For any individuals that requested to speak by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions provided to you. Also note for the record that we received 15 e-comments, 10 in favor, 3 in opposition, and 2 neutral. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. We'll begin with those in favor. There are 2 in favor, 3 in opposition. So I'd like to invite forward Christina Marquez and B. Mitter-Miller. And that will be followed by the speakers in opposition, Steve Ruffner, Jim Whalen, and Lori Filer. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. If your name is called, please come forward and line up under the mural on the east wall. You may come forward to the podium. And I'd ask you to please state your name for the audio record.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is B. Mitter-Miller. I'm with San Diego 350. I'm here to support your staff's recommendation to rescind the current SB 743 Transportation Study Guide. It does not meet the county's climate goals or comply with state law. To stop the catastrophic impacts of climate change and to provide San Diegans with desperately needed affordable housing, we have to end sprawl development and incentivize affordable, sustainable housing that has access to transit. We have yet to see leadership from the Board of Supervisors. Not only do we want to see the current legally challenged study guide rescinded, your leadership is required to use the state's guidance as a replacement while a clear, bold approach to development is written that accepts the fact that sprawl development is simply inconsistent with a healthy, sustainable, and equitable future. The intent of SB 743 is clear. Please act now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Vice Chair Vargas and Supervisors. My name is Christina Marquez. Speaking on behalf of 3,600 members of electricians and power professionals with IBEW 569. Transportation pollution is threatening our climate and our health, especially environmental justice communities, many low-income communities of color. Transportation represents one of our most significant opportunities to create cleaner and slash climate emissions, but we must take action. Our region must aggressively reduce pollution from cars. This is vital. Today, the County Board of Supervisors has a critical opportunity to keep us on the right path towards accomplishing this. Rescinding the Transportation Study Guide is a step in the right direction to a healthier, more resilient, and environmentally just future. Thank you for your time.
I want to recognize that Supervisor Fletcher is on the phone.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning, members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Steve Ruffner. I'm with KB Home Coastal, and I'm the President and Regional General Manager for Orange County and San Diego. I'm here today to urge you not to rescind the Transportation Guide. It's basically going to create a moratorium on middle-class housing in the county. Currently, the county has the second lowest supply of available developed lots in the country. Because of that supply and demand unequilibrium, we have gone up in price 24.7% year over year for new housing. That's tragic. All this is All this is going to do is make it even harder for home builders and other builders to build middle-class housing. Make no mistake, rescinding the TSG will directly impact the ability for the middle-class families in this county to buy attainable housing. At KB Home, we pride ourselves on building homes for the middle class. All of our communities here in the county have waiting lists, people desperate to get a new home. Unfortunately, there's very few of them. I ask you today to consider not doing this. Sometimes the best things to do are not do anything. You don't have to do anything. Please, please don't do this. Currently, we are building at 26% of the needed equilibrium supply of middle-class housing in this county. It's the worst in the country. The only place where it's less is Los Angeles. So thank you very much. I hope you don't do this.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Vice Chair Vargas and members of the board. Happy to see you all here. Every time I'm here, I'm happy because it's a good sign. Before I start, I want to thank you for your leadership. Yeah, I want to thank you for your leadership in handling the COVID virus. I think it's proving that you've done it the right way. But before I get going, hopefully we can get to the same place on this. I think we're all trying to get to an end point of reducing greenhouse gas and dealing with the existential crisis of climate change. And I'll start by saying, let's not do this right now. We don't have to. And I'll make 5 points. And some of them might be a little bit different than you're used to. For those of us interested in open space systems, without development, there's no open space. The MSAP plan in North County, for example, is underway, and it won't happen without development. So anything you do that could affect that affects open space dedications. Second thing is, I think you should decide on all the policy at once, rather than piecemealing it, because otherwise there's going to be unintended consequences, and they'll likely show up in the villages. Just for the record, not to be snotty, but OPR guidance is just that, guidance. You're not required to. I think I know where this is going, but I just want to point out that in the future, OPR guidance does not mean you have to do it. The fourth thing is, if the VMT efficient areas really are less than 1% of the county's unincorporated area, there's going to need to be some carve-outs, or you're never going to get to Supervisor Lawson-Reamer's goals of increasing housing for those who need it the most. So that carve-out you'll need to talk about. And then the last thing is an experience that I've run into with stormwater. Because we're always under the gun to improve the performance of new housing with stormwater. We're in a situation where really the good is done with the existing housing. I'd argue the same thing applies here with VMT.
Thank you.
That existing housing is where we should be working on. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Supervisors. I'm Lori Filer, CEO, the new CEO for the Building Industry Association. Rescinding the Transportation Study Guide will hinder our region's ability to address our housing crisis. Any action that hinders the ability to build housing is hurting families that call San Diego their home. Our community fabric is eroding because of our housing crisis. Families are chasing housing wherever they can find it, doubling up, and spending more than can be imagined on rent. The county is dotted with community villages that have provided slightly more affordable housing for our families. This action will result in a moratorium on housing contemplated in the unincorporated area. Our first preference would be to do nothing today. We understand from the staff report that the next step, though, will be to work on the 13 items identified to be studied. The BIA would like to participate in that activity. We do know how to build housing, and we do know how to work with the community goals we all have. Thank you very much.
We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. We'll be calling speakers by the last 4 digits of their phone number. You will hear a notification that your call has been unmuted. You will then need to press *6 to unmute your phone. I'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record, and I'll remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. And if you could please identify the first caller.
Our first caller is 2750. 2750. Please press star 6 to unmute.
Good morning, Honorable Chair Fletcher, members of the board, Dan Silver, Endangered Habitats League. We support the recommended action. It is clearly indicated to revise to the regional standard that is in the OPR guidance. There are problems and challenges going forward, yes, but the 13 items that you have staff working on will provide a suite of options for a workable solution. So now is the time to move forward, develop the solutions. You gave a whole suite of tasks that can provide those solutions. So the sky is not falling. Let's look at options, but let's follow the OPR guidance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next caller is 8046. 8046. Please press star 6 to unmute.
Good morning, Supervisors. This is Noah Harris with Climate Action Campaign, speaking in support of today's vote to rescind the current fatally flawed transportation study guide. I want to begin by emphasizing we are in a climate emergency. We see the worst impacts of the climate crisis intensifying each year: wildfires, drought, extreme heat, and more. Transportation accounts for nearly half of the region's greenhouse gas emissions, more than any other sector by far. Plus, San Diego is home to some of the most dangerously polluted neighborhoods in the state, largely due to cars and trucks. The climate crisis and environmental injustices have and will impact low-income communities and communities of color first and worst. We simply cannot address these inequities without aggressively slashing transportation emissions by stopping sprawl. However, the current TSG allows for continued sprawl development in high VMT, high wildfire risk zones. To actually achieve sustainable, equitable communities, we need ample affordable housing near jobs and transit. As such, rescission today represents an important first step, but it is frustrating that this board continues to kick the can down the road when it comes to fixing SB 743 so it actually achieves its legislative intent. We offer the following recommendations once the TSG is rescinded. First, the county must follow at minimum OPR guidance in the meantime. The county must then adopt the regional average VMT to establish the significance threshold. And finally, the county must identify a stronger small project screening criteria that actually considers trip distance and does not allow half of all future units to avoid any VMT analysis or mitigation. Continued delay on these items will only exacerbate the climate crisis and environmental injustice. With leadership from this board, the housing and climate crises can be tackled together. They do not need to be opposed. This board has made several bold commitments to climate action, but has still not taken any significant action on stopping sprawl. We urge you to turn your commitments into implementation.
Next speaker, please. Thank you.
Our next caller is 1111. Please press star 6 to unmute.
Good morning, Supervisors. This is Bob Stewart. I am calling regarding the point that there is no good reason to vote to rescind the TSG. There are several reasons not to do so. First would be you would effectively concede at court, wasting all the good work that you've done on the TSG. OPR sided with the regional calculation because Sandag is the regional entity for transportation, but it is not the jurisdiction for county land use planning. And by using Sandag and the region aspect, you basically take away your local planning effort and it becomes a state-controlled planning effort. So I urge you to vote no on the rescission. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 5986. 5986. Please press star 6 to unmute. 5986.
Good morning. Hi, this is Tracy Morgan Hollingworth, calling on behalf of the Pacific Southwest Association of Realtors. We share Bob's and some of the other speaker's fears that if you don't wait for your staff to finish their research, the research that you have asked them to complete, then you won't really have a complete package, to deal with. We know that the board is making housing a priority for the county, and we really appreciate your looking at it, but we feel that rescission of the transportation study guide, should wait until your county staff returns to you to advise you on the 13 policy areas that you requested them to report back on. And as Lori Holtweiler said, we're at your service. Let us know how we can help. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next caller is 2809. 2809. Please press *6 to unmute.
Hello, this is Dr. Peter Anderson. I'm chair of the Sierra Club San Diego Legal Committee, and I am in favor of rescinding the TSA, as is the entire Sierra Club. We are facing a climate crisis. You don't have to read the science to understand what's going on. You just have to look at the news. Lake Tahoe and the Sierra redwoods and sequoias are being threatened by wildfires. Each week, the southeast is hit by another large tropical storm or tornado. There's massive flooding in the Midwest. The crisis is here. It's not some far-fetched future thing. Yes, there's a housing crisis, but if we don't solve the climate crisis, we're not going to have any housing left at all. I favor rescission of the TSA, consistent with the Office of Planning and Research, and I urge the board to adopt the regional average. We don't want project-specific thresholds. That will only result in legal action on a project-by-project basis. Not desirable for developers, not desirable for the county, and certainly not desirable for the Sierra Club. So please, do the right thing, don't delay, rescind the TSA, and adopt the regional average for VMT. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next caller is 1925. 1925, please press *6 to unmute. 1925, please press *6 to unmute.
Good morning, supervisors. My name is Rita Clement. I'm a volunteer with San Diego 350, which is part of the Green New Deal Alliance. I am speaking in support of rescinding this, and I want to thank the staff of OPR for their excellent presentation. The climate crisis is accelerating, so we need to act immediately. Thank you, and have a nice day.
Thank you. Our next caller is 0396. 0396, please press *6 to unmute.
Good morning, Vice Chair Vargas and supervisors. My name is Karina Gonzalez, and I am with Hammond Climate Solutions, a proud member of the San Diego Green New Deal Alliance. I'm calling not only to urge for my support of the staff's recommendation to rescind the flawed SB 743 Transportation Study Guide, but also to urge you to take a bolder approach to development that stops sprawl. We don't need more high-end sprawl developments in San Diego County. In order to address our housing crisis, we need to incentivize affordable, sustainable housing that is near public transit. Rescinding this flaw study is the first step, but it is not enough. I urge you to adopt a new guide that will create a path to implementing SB 743. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 5919. 5919, please press *6 to unmute.
Good
Good morning, Board of Supervisors, Vice Chair Vargas. This is Eric Bruvald from the San Diego North Economic Development Council, and I want to urge you to reject staff's recommendation, keep the study guide in place until you have returned to you the 13 items. Jim Whalen said something important, and I just want to highlight two of the unintended consequences that you'll be facing come January if you do this. First, one of the 13 items talks about moving fully away from level of service to VMT. But remember, what that would mean is that communities would be asked to accept failing intersections, no local transportation improvements, just because a mitigation fee is spent, and then that money invested maybe 20, 30, 40 miles away where there's more bang for the buck in terms of encouraging transit. I doubt that this board's going to do that. I doubt that future boards would do that, and so developers would pay twice, both for the VMT fee and then the mitigation that's going to probably be negotiated right at the podium. The second thing is that the fee would have to be a partial mitigation, which would require this board to have findings of overriding consideration, and again face litigation from the same people that are suing you today if absent adequate environmental study and work. So again, until the work is done on the 13 items, I would urge you not to take this action today, wait till January, and then look at the full range of options. And finally, to the people that are talking about the climate crisis and environmental justice. I would just remind them that 150,000 people every day make a commute from southern Riverside County to San Diego because housing is affordable there and the jobs are here. Further delaying development in San Diego County does little to help the climate. What it does is it further puts people on mega commutes on I-15 as evidenced by what we see every day and as evidenced by other urban regions in California that have refused to meet their housing needs.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next caller is 5034. 5034. Please press *6 to unmute. 5034.
Good morning, Chair Fletcher and Supervisors. I'm David Grubb, Transportation Chair of Sierra Club San Diego. As Peter Anderson noted, the Sierra Club supports the staff recommendation to rescind the 2020 Transportation Study Guide. We urge you to direct staff to move quickly to revise the CEQA Transportation Study Guide for consistency with SB 743 and the OPR guidelines. Aligning the county's transportation study guidelines with state law and the OPR technical advisory will help to direct development away from the unspooled natural lands in remote areas and promote development in areas closer to the incorporated cities and the already developed parts of the county where services, infrastructure, and amenities can be provided efficiently. This will also provide many other benefits, including reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, avoidance of habitat loss, and improved air quality. We also recommend prompt action to develop a mitigation program that will encourage infill development and affordable housing while penalizing inefficient sprawl development. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 5785. 5785. Please press *6 to unmute. 5785. Please press *6 to unmute. We'll come back. Our next caller is 3135. 3135. Please press *6 to unmute. 3135.
Hi,
Go ahead.
Hi. Good morning, Vice Chair Vargas and Supervisors. My name is Shayla Ott, and I'm a member of the San Diego Building Electrification Coalition. I'm calling in today to say that I support the staff's recommendation to rescind the current SB 743 Transportation Study Guide, which is sufficiently flawed, but beyond rescinding it, a new, clear, and bold transportation study guide is desperately needed, one that uses regional average vehicle miles traveled and is essentially stronger than state guidance. We all are aware that we are in the climate crisis already, and our most vulnerable communities are burdened by environmental injustices first and worse. continued delay of SB 743 will exacerbate these dangerous impacts and further the sprawl development crisis that prevents families from affording housing in San Diego. I urge you to rescind the current study and adopt a new one in its place that will chart a course to implementing SB 743 and reaching our climate action goals like zero carbon by 2035. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next caller is 0156. 0156. Please press *6 to unmute.
Good morning. This is George Corser from Sierra Club San Diego. I'm the conservation chair. Sierra Club suggests the transportation study guide be rescinded completely and in whole. This includes the so-called underlying CEQA findings the TSG is based on, as well as including the transportation CEQA threshold of significance for VMT. Rescind the VMT analysis, 110 average daily trips, and determine how many actual miles are being generated. In essence, treat the TSG as your board did on the referended Newland Sierra project. Begin at the beginning with new leadership and staff members if required. Failing to rescind the TSG will effectively attack the new climate action plan before it is produced. The county cannot wait another 11 years. Thank you for your information and time.
Thank you. Our next caller is 4103. 4103. Please press *6 to unmute.
Hello, my name is Oscar Urenga. I'm a small private developer. I own a property in District 3. It's infill, it's near transit, it has a village residential zoning. It's 4 to 5 minutes from downtown Escondido. I've been working closely with staff to honor the general plan, comply with zoning standards, and gain approvals for 20 lots, 20 single-family homes. Staff's been great. We recently hosted a workshop with the community. We circulated our CEQA document in July, and that document uses the current VMT guides. It screens us out because we're in a VMT efficient area. We've also volunteered to incorporate additional GHG measures to do our part. We're ready to go to Planning Commission, presuming approval in October. And we've been in process for over 3 years. That's how long it takes to get to a hearing in San Diego County. And that's in part why we have a housing crisis. I encourage you to keep the TSG in place. We're not in a rural sprawl location, but the new definition would carve us out. Doesn't make sense to me. It seems like an oversimplification of a complex problem, and we can do better. Remember that VMT is a surrogate for greenhouse gases. We can do other things to reduce our footprint and balance competing interests. I also encourage you to consider grandfathering, investing. That's the spirit of SB 330, the Housing Crisis Act of 2019. We should absolutely continue to reevaluate and improve our policies, but we need to balance that against the housing crisis. Please allow applicants to have certainty of expectation and process so we can make investments in our communities with clarity and confidence. Again, it takes years to process, and we can't afford moving targets. Please let applicants know that these proposed changes would only affect new projects moving forward. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Our next caller is 2694. 2694. Please press *6 to unmute.
Yes, hi. Thank you, Supervisors. My name is JP Taberge, and I'm with Grow the San Diego Way, Juntos Crecemos San Diego, pro-growth, anti-sprawl think tank. I support the staff recommendations on item number 1 with a few caveats. First, I would want to address the whole concept of the Riverside commute. Riverside housing is more than $200,000 cheaper than it is in San Diego County. That is not going to change for the foreseeable future. So the equation people have to make as to whether commute or not is not going to change much. The other thing is the commutes within San Diego County are actually, in many cases, longer than those from Riverside. Riverside County commutes tend to go to the North County area of San Diego, and some folks are actually commuting from North County to City of San Diego, which is actually longer in many cases. We've had high hopes for this new board, who are in a unique position to lead on the issue of climate change sprawl and to push our region towards a more sustainable future for our children. For decades now, we've watched previous boards ignore communities, conservationists, and the voiceless many to do the bidding and of the sprawl industrial development lobby. Their only goal was to target rural areas of unincorporated county for highly profitable speculative projects in high fire risk zones. These are and have been luxury market rate projects that actually increase average housing costs while putting more people in the harm's way. The previous board repeatedly put forth flawed climate action plans and were sued every time and lost. They wasted taxpayer money on fruitless lawsuits at the behest of the sprawl developer lobby, who wanted weaker application of state law. After 12 years, we're still dealing with it. Now with a new board in place who claim to be more environmentally focused, we seem to be in a similar position, stuck with a poor decision made by their predecessors, climate-denying predecessors. The new board has repeatedly employed stall tactics to delay the inevitable fix that is necessary, and now we are facing litigation once again. Why is that? Well, so lobbyists and Sprawl Industrial Building Industry Association have been lobbying the county.
Thank you.
And anyways, we support.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next caller is a recall of 5785. 5785, please press star 6 to unmute. 5785. All right, we'll move on to 1436. If you'd like to speak on this item, please press star 6 to unmute.
Good morning, Vice Chair Vargas and Supervisors. My name is Tara Hammond. I'm the founder of Hammond Climate Solutions and a District 4 resident. I fully support staff's recommendation to rescind the flawed SB 743 Transportation Study Guide, and I urge you to take a bolder approach to immediately stop sprawl development. For the sake of a just and livable future, please adopt a new guide that will create a viable pathway to implement SB 743 and help achieve zero carbon by 2035. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Our next caller is 6598. 6598. If you'd like to speak on this item, please press star 6 to unmute. 6598. Last call for 5785. 5785. If you'd like to speak, please press star 6 to unmute. 5785.
Seeing no movement from those callers, Vice Chair Vargas, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you. We've heard comments from different stakeholders on this issue, and we're committed to work with the state on advancing how we will analyze the project's environmental impacts. In light of the clarification from the Office of Planning and Research that unincorporated areas should be a threshold based on the regional average VMT, my recommendation is to move forward with rescinding the adopted transportation study guide. We still have more to review in order for us to move forward with our new VMT approach that considers the items that the board requested in May. This includes more opportunities for infill development, creation of transit accessible areas, opportunities for affordable housing and VMT mitigation programs. I look forward to having staff return to the board to present the analysis of the 13 items related to VMT in January of 2022 for further discussion and consideration on this very important topic. With that, I'd like to make a motion to support staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second, so I'll open up for discussion with my colleagues. Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Thank you. So I have a number of comments. I think this is a big, important topic for us to consider today. I first would like to thank the public for your thoughtful comments. And I want to begin by reminding the board and the public here today that SB 743 and CEQA are state law. And I certainly would like to express my disappointment that we've come to this because, as I've said from the beginning, in my view, the only reasonable path forward is to align with state guidance on SB 743 implementation. 743 is a holistic effort to support transit-supportive infill development, build more homes near amenities like schools and places of work, reduce commute times and carbon emissions from cars idling in traffic, and confront the climate emergency. Taken in full, 743 cuts regulations and makes it easier to build in the right places and makes it more difficult to build in the wrong places. That is good public policy. This approach is at the core of our work to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in our county. But let me take a moment to clarify the nature of the OPR technical guidance for 743 implementation, which some stakeholders keep referring to as voluntary. As I noted back in March, The OPR Technical Advisory from 2018 explicitly advised, quote, for residential projects in unincorporated county areas, the local agency can compare a residential project's VMT to 1, the region's VMT per capita, or 2, the aggregate population weighted VMT per capita of all cities in the region. The previous board should have adopted the legally required regional threshold in June of last year before I was on the board, and I want to thank Chair Fletcher for his lone vote in favor of common sense climate action at that time. Legally, if we do not follow OPR technical guidance regarding how to implement 743, then we need substantial evidence that any alternative approach that we may adopt is equally in compliance with 743. We are currently facing a lawsuit regarding the county's failure to comply with state law, 743, in our current TSG. This hearing date for this lawsuit is imminent in early October. What the plaintiffs allege is that having stepped away from OPR technical advisory in the TSG, the county did not comply with state law because it did not provide substantial evidence that the alternative satisfied 743 implementation. CEQA is self-executing, which means that litigation, rather than this or any board's opinion, is the ultimate test of compliance. The previous county board would have needed substantial evidence that a deviation from OPR guidance still complied with 743 implementation, and there is no such evidence in the record. In other words, we're not facing a policy decision. This is a legal question. This item is only before us today because there is a recognition that Judge Taylor, having repeatedly chastised the previous board for attempting to circumvent state CEQA law in remarkably strong terms, will likely once again find for the plaintiffs. Indeed, if we do nothing today and therefore move forward with the lawsuit, I would not be surprised if Judge Taylor tosses out the entire TSG. In other words, the outcome of the lawsuit is very possibly to be exactly what staff is currently recommending. The grounds of the lawsuit is that the TSG does not comply with 743 and CEQA. So to summarize, the situation we're now in is that we're faced with the choice of rescinding the TSG or walking once again into Judge Taylor's courtroom to defend it. I think the county is likely to lose the lawsuit. I've read the law, I've read Judge Taylor's previous decisions, and if any stakeholders think that failing to implement a regional VMT approach is likely to prevail in Judge Taylor's courtroom, I urge you to also read the judge's previous rulings. The fact that we're 8 months into a new board and now scrambling to throw out the entire TSG in the hopes of vacating the lawsuit is very, very unideal. I've heard from many stakeholders, and I agree, that throwing out the whole TSG, which was created over a long time period with extensive stakeholder input, will slow our work in building affordable homes for middle-class San Diegans, make it harder to build by increasing delays and uncertainty, and slow our progress towards regional climate mitigation planning. So now let's turn to the 13 items that are being examined by staff at the board's direction. There are a number of vital issues broached in the 13 questions this board posed to staff. This board should absolutely put these issues at the center of our agenda moving forward, spurring transit-supportive affordable housing development, ensuring that working families have an equal opportunity to own homes and grow deep intergenerational roots in their communities. Building affordable homes for middle-income and working-class San Diegans is at the core of my agenda on this Board of Supervisors. But the Transportation Study Guide is not a feasible mechanism to implement these innovative, transformative solutions. Let's fast forward to what will happen, or what is likely to happen, when staff brings back the 13 points in January of next year. And if, at that time, this board decides to step away from OPR guidance. Any significant deviation from the OPR technical advisory will require a full program EIR, which would take 2 more years and almost certainly, once again, attract legal challenge. Anything except a board policy of regional VMT and 110 ADT will very likely land us right back here, having lost 2.5 years, thousands of hours, and potentially millions of dollars of staff and consultant time, delaying housing construction with increased uncertainty, delaying our progress towards thoughtful climate mitigation, and facing the same litigation. This is not climate action. This is climate filibuster. We need to align with OPR, regional baseline, and 110 ADT, and move on to the critical discussion of mitigation, phase 2 of the TSG. And how we can work with builders, workers, and developers to spur the transit-supportive mixed-income housing production that we desperately need. Not only in order to align with our GHG reduction goals, but also to produce hundreds of thousands of homes accessible to working families. I've consistently advocated for alignment with OPR Technical Advisory. I continue to believe that alignment is the inevitable outcome of this process, and that immediate adoption of the regional baseline and 110 ADT is the preferable decision. That is my preference today. But if we don't have 3 votes for that approach, I'm happy to defer to whichever other alternative my colleagues prefer. Either to do nothing today, as some of the stakeholders who came to testify advocated, and take our current TSG into Judge Taylor's court on October 1st and have him deliver a verdict that is likely to be embarrassing, blistering, and could potentially toss out the TSG in any case. Or we can vote to rescind the TSG and lose valuable time and resources, slow our climate agenda, and hamper our ability to build the affordable VMT-efficient housing we need. Both alternatives seem inferior to immediate OPR alignment within the TSG, but I believe either will lead sooner or later to OPR alignment. So certainly I would prefer to change the TSG to align with OPR rather than to start over for another 2-year process on the TSG. Frankly, all that being said, I don't feel very strongly about what we do today because we will very likely end up in the same place eventually.
There it is. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, and I appreciate the time, and I appreciate the comments of my colleague, Supervisor Lawson-Remer. I agree with many of the things she said, not all, but many of them, particularly when it comes to this lawsuit that we're facing on October 1st. I've been very outspoken. I actually voted for the unincorporated regional approach, the unincorporated approach over the regional approach as concerned with VMT. I think the regional approach is going to devastate our housing and VMT-efficient areas, particularly in the unincorporated areas. We've already seen what the map shows, how very limited the efficient VMT areas appear or come to when applying the regional analysis. So a pure regional model is essentially going to halt all development in the unincorporated area, and that's most likely what we're going to get if this goes to court on October 1st with Judge Taylor, is a pure regional model. I think a lack of new development is increasing our housing costs and pushing our workforce as we see further and further out of the county. I see, we have many of the environmental groups that called in today, and they don't want any sprawl, they don't want any development in the unincorporated areas, which I think it only increases our VMT and GHG emissions. When I was mayor of San Marcos, most of our firefighters and people that worked on staff lived in Riverside County. They didn't live, they couldn't afford to live in our own county. And so, we keep forcing, by having fewer and fewer houses built in San Diego County, forcing people to move further away and increase our vehicle miles traveled and GHG emissions. So I'm a realist. The county's under litigation from the environmentalists and activist groups. There's a lot going on against the county on the VMT modeling, according to the Office of Planning and Resource, and the history of the litigation regarding land use opinions and programs. So to me, I think what the staff is presenting today is our best, worst choice. The regional VMT is coming. I supported the unincorporated mode, but it's coming, so let's make the best of it. I think it's better to rescind today the TSG and to resolve the suit so that the county can keep some local control. Otherwise, likely have none. So I'm concerned if the outcome of the suit is in favor of the litigants, then the court could order actually a more restrictive program, and the county would have little or no control. But we may have some control with potentially carve-out opportunities, building near transit. I'd like to see a carve-outs of building near where infrastructure already exists. But for those reasons, I'm going to support staff's recommendation, and I'd like the recommendation that Lori Filer had brought forward as working with the building agencies and others like the BIA to, when we further this effort, particularly with the other 13 items. So reluctantly, I'm going to be supporting the item today just for the practicality of a worse condition or outcome with the lawsuit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Thank you.
Vice Chair Vargas, just to clarify that the motion includes the revised resolution that was distributed to the board with the errata yesterday, and also includes direction to staff to withdraw the notice of exemption filed for the TSG in 2020.
Okay.
Thank you. With that, Supervisor Lawson-Remer. We'll do a voice vote.
Oh, aye.
Thank you. Supervisor Desmond?
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas?
Vargas, aye.
Chair Fletcher?
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes with all supervisors who are present voting aye.
Thank you very much. The next item is item number 2, authorizing Micro Enterprises home kitchen operations in San Diego County. And so before we go to the public comments, oh wait, is Nathan still on? Call a recess. Okay, we're going to take a 2-minute recess. We'll be right back. I don't think he knew. could you, we're back, and so can you please read item number 2?
Thank you, Vice Chair Vargas. Item number 2 is entitled Authorizing Micro-Enterprise Home Kitchen Operations in San Diego County. This item was brought forward by Supervisor Anderson and Vice Chair Vargas.
Yes, and I am very proud to be joining Supervisor Anderson in docketing this board letter. This could not come at a better time when our board is committed to helping our communities in this journey to recovery. Micro-enterprise home kitchen operations, or MICOs, are so important. These entrepreneurs represent an informal food economy that has been present in our communities for years, but we saw a boom during the pandemic. Our board letter would begin the process of authorizing micro-enterprise home kitchen operations, or MICOs, in San Diego. Authorizing these home-based restaurants is a natural flow on the Board of Supervisors' decision to enable the cottage food industry in San Diego County, an industry which now has over 450 members. In San Diego County, according to the Cook Alliance poll, the informal food economy is comprised of 30% generation immigrants, 85% women, 48% African American, Latino, or multiracial descent, 35% household incomes of less than $45,000 a year. The experience for cities with existing MICOs has been overwhelmingly positive. In Riverside County, where MICOs were authorized over 2 years ago, only 2 minor complaints were made throughout the 24 cities where over 130 MICOs operate. Adopting the MICOs program can help lift innovative, non-traditional food entrepreneurs who have historically faced cost and access barriers to break into the formal food industry. Therefore, permitting MICOs to operate in San Diego County will have a positive impact on San Diego's communities of color, and especially for women and entrepreneurs. The group most negatively impacted by wage gaps, job loss, and access to achieve economic parity. In District 1, for example, the National City Kitchenistas, and I think some of them are here today, yay, Kitchenistas, and South Bay Community Services already have a program positioning the MICOs entrepreneurs. Throughout this board letter, the County of San Diego has a unique opportunity to help remove barriers and help our communities build wealth while working together to build an equitable economic recovery for all. A significant barrier for many of them who are just starting off is the cost, with $400,000 being the average startup cost for a brick and mortar restaurant. Additionally, the cost of purchasing a food truck is around $50,000, and an average annual rent for a commercial kitchen is around $45,000. Legally permitted MICOs can serve as incubators for aspiring restaurants to test out and vet menu while learning the basics of what it takes to run a small-scale retail operations. While community leaders, including the National City Kitchenistas, San Diego Food System Alliance, and many others have been advocating for this initiative and worked with cities across South County, I am proud to bring this to fruition at the county level in partnership with Supervisor Anderson. I'm committed to working with our local government and empowering home chefs to come out of the shadows, become trained and licensed and legal. Through MICOs, we are able to provide many small businesses with an economic lifeline benefiting our economy now and in the future. I think this is a great opportunity for all. And just rápidamente, las cocinas caseras como microempresas representan una economía alimentaria informal que ha existido en nuestras comunidades por muchos años. Pero durante esta pandemia hemos visto que el número de cocinas caseras han aumentado. Pero debido a que muchas personas perdieron su trabajo, encontrarán esta nueva oportunidad económica para vender comida desde sus casas. Sin embargo, actualmente existen muchas barreras para empezar negocios de comida. A través de esta política pública, el Condado de San Diego tiene una oportunidad de ayudar a eliminar estas barreras de acceso y empezar a reconstruir la economía. Al legalizar las cocinas caseras, podremos crear una economía alimentaria más inclusiva, equitativa y diversa. Es nuestro trabajo garantizar que las familias y las microempresas de nuestra región puedan no solo sobrevivir, sino prosperar. Es un orgullo para mí poder liderar este tema con el supervisor Anderson y elevarlo a un nivel regional para así empoderar a nuestros emprendedores, al igual que crear acceso a alimenticios frescos, saludables y deliciosos. With that, I would like to ask my colleague to support this motion to accept this item.
Happy to second.
Thank you. Any public comment?
Thank you, Vice Chair Vargas. We have 23 requests to speak on this item, 15 in person and 8 by phone. Also note that there were 3 individuals that registered their support of the item but did not wish to address the board, and we received 21 e-comments, 20 in favor. Any members of the public that requested to speak on this item by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers, and I'll be calling speakers in groups of 5. Also note for the record that all the individuals that requested to speak are in favor of this item. As your name is called, please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. I'd like to invite forward Karen Melvin, Janice Luna Reynoso, Carolina Festo, Roya Bagheri, and Aaron Funderburk. If your name is called, please come forward, and you may come forward to the podium in any order. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to address the board, and I'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record.
Hauka, good morning, buenos dias. My name is Janice Luna Reynoso. Thank you, Supervisor Vargas, for reappointing me to serve on the Behavioral Health Advisory Board. I haven't had a chance to thank you. I'm here to represent my community. I'm also Executive Director of Mundo Gardens, a community garden and social justice organization that supports access to healthy and local foods locally grown. I'm here as a kitchenista, as a mother, as a community member to support MICO and the importance of it and seeing the nexus to promote culture, to promote wellness in our communities. Imagine mothers and parents being able to afford intramural activities and creative projects for their children in order to promote wellness. This also has a nexus with housing justice as well. Imagine being able to afford to keep paying your high rent, as that is a reality of many of our communities with gentrification, and mitigating those and offsetting displacement by being able to afford your rent at the end of the month and not only survive but thrive. We're seeing the nexus also with climate justice and taking care of our environment to be able to work local, to be able to shop local and support local businesses. We have to think past even sustainable economies. We're talking regenerative everything. And so this is an opportunity for you to be innovative in supporting that. But you can still visit. If you haven't had an opportunity to share space with these curators in these wonderful cultural venues that are our homes, this is an opportunity for you to eat something so delicious that'll make you want to dance, and this is your chance to support that. So thank you very much for your time and consideration, and we look forward to seeing you in our home kitchens. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Vice Chair Vargas and the supervisors. My name is Karen Melvin, and I co-lead the San Diego Micro Enterprise Home Kitchen Operation Coalition. I'm honored to be able to address you today in this forum. Today's vote is a milestone in the process of authorizing MICOs in San Diego County. The opportunities and benefits to allow MICOs permitting are many, and the fears and concerns that have been put forward have not become a reality. MICOs provide inclusion, incubation, innovation. In inclusion, MICOs provide entry for lower-income individuals and caretakers who otherwise could not afford to operate their own food business. MICOs improve access to healthy food for individuals living in San Diego County's food deserts and allows those that are already cooking illegally to come out of the shadows. Incubation. MICOs create a pathway that empowers entrepreneurs to generate income and test out their business models at minimal cost. Caps to MICOs in number of meals served and income keep MICOs at an entry point for business ownership or supplemental income. Innovation. MICOs can be used in a variety of ways to meet the needs of family and community, such as meals for senior citizens, cottage food operators expanding their menus, and families selling specialty foods during holidays. When ABA 62 passed in the California legislature in 2018, there were concerns of foodborne illnesses and traffic and noise impacts to the neighborhoods. Riverside County has had MICOs since July 1st, 2019, and over 130 MICOs are currently operating there. So we have 2 years worth of data to see if those concerns have been borne out. Public records request of cities and counties in Riverside found that there have been 0 food safety related complaints and only 2 cases of nuisance issues involving brand new MICOs. The other 131 MICOs are in our records request have no complaints. That's a 98.5% compliance rate. The data shows that the concerns have not materialized and the benefits are abundant. I urge the board to vote yes on authorizing MICOs in San Diego County. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning.
Thank you for opportunity to speak in supporting microenterprise home kitchen operations. My name is Caroline Festo. I came to US from Congo 14 years ago. I am now an American citizen. I am married with 4 young children and a community health worker from Somali Family Service of San Diego. I and others in my community, we will like the chance to cook for your neighbors and be able to do so from home. So we can take care of our children and make money for your families. Having Marcos approved for San Diego will give us the opportunity. The African community love to cook and share their food. I would like you please to vote yes to authorize Marcos of San Diego County. Thank you so much.
Next speaker, please.
Hello, Board of Supervisors. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Roya Bagari, and I'm a lifelong San Diego resident. I am a licensed California attorney, the co-lead of the San Diego Miko Coalition, and policy director at FoodNome. FoodNome is a registered internet food service intermediary on a mission to promote food entrepreneurship by empowering chefs and home cooks to legally and safely sell food from their home kitchens. Our organization has actively supported over 100 chefs, the majority of whom are women and people of color, through obtaining their Miko permits, and have seen the incredible positive impacts of the Miko program firsthand. Mikos are an incredible tool for economic development and especially economic recovery and empowerment during these unprecedented times. Mikos create an inclusive pathway that empowers entrepreneurs to generate income while providing flexibility for those who need to work from home, such as caretakers. Additionally, Mikos increase consumer access to diverse, healthy local foods and create stronger community ties. In over 2 years of operation, with more than 100 home cooks permitted and more than 100,000 meals sold, there have been 0 reported food safety or grease complaints. Prior to receiving a permit, Miko operators are required to obtain food manager training certification and must submit a plan for grease disposal to the health department as a part of their standard operating procedures. We also have 2 years of positive data through our platform and chefs that show that Mikos have truly benefited their communities. Additionally, chefs that work through our organization, FoodNome, are provided with further education and a platform that assists with managing hours of operation and minimizing any neighborhood impact. Considering the widespread number of individuals who are already operating illegally in the shadows on social media sites such as Facebook and Instagram, a formal Miko program will protect public health by creating clear, tailored regulations and trainings. So thank you so much for your time, and we urge you to vote yes.
As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite 5 additional speakers: John Alvarado, Alexis Villanueva, Katia Callahan, Antonio Calvin-Dion, and Diana Tapiz. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Hello, I'm Erin Funderburk, and I'm here on behalf of the San Diego Volunteer Lawyer Program, and we are in support of San Diego County opting into Assembly Bill 626. For those of you not familiar with our organization, we provide free civil legal services to disadvantaged and low-income individuals in San Diego County, and I'm the staff attorney responsible for the program that provides free legal services to low-income entrepreneurs and micro-businesses in San Diego County. Many low-income entrepreneurs in San Diego don't have equal access to the justice system, and we try to eliminate that barrier. Speaking to a lot of our clients, we've realized that another barrier that low-income food entrepreneurs frequently have is the requirement that they rent commercial kitchen space. Our clients have the knowledge, the expertise, and the entrepreneurial spirit required to become successful business owners, but frequently they lack significant capital that's required to cover the large overhead, as well as a lot of times for new businesses to operate for a loss for a short period of time. Cook Alliance statistically provided that the annual rent for commercial kitchen is $45,000 a year, whereas the overall cost to launch a MECO is less than $1,000. In conversations with a lot of our clients, the additional expense of having to rent the commercial space is the requirement that prevents them from pursuing their dreams of opening a food-related business. Allowing MECOs permits food entrepreneurs to generate income and test their business model at a minimal cost. It allows food entrepreneurs to allocate more money towards generating business, expanding their sales, and not on commercial kitchens, which are a burden and unnecessary for most home cooks that have all the resources they need at home. By allowing MECOs in San Diego, you are supporting small-scale home cooking operations that are primarily operated by women, immigrants, and people of color in San Diego. San Diego Volunteer Lawyer Program believes San Diego should support communities of color, immigrants, and women entrepreneurs by opting into Assembly Bill 626. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Vice Chair and other board members. I am the founder and executive director of a program called the Good Neighbor Project San Diego.
Sir, can you please state your name for the audio record?
I'm sorry, John Alvarado.
Thank you.
And, well, my family, the Good Neighbor Project, okay, my family has been in the restaurant business for over 100 years, okay? And I don't see it a problem affecting, if you will, commercial businesses. That being said, I'm a retired career technical education school teacher. I believe in core values, education, and at the end of the day, you have to have a good job. Nothing in this world is free, period. In the past, I've been supported by the San Diego Promise Zone and by this board here, actually the past one. For the last year and a half, I've been feeding people of the San Diego Promise Zone, primarily in the areas of Logan Heights, and we need your help. To support the microenterprise home kitchen, I need you to know you can make a difference with these small children that I've been feeding, okay? When I have a 5-year-old come and tell me, Mr. Alvarado, thank you for the food. And that same child says, can I have a hug? You tell me what your vote should be. Please give my community the right to feed our people. God bless you, God bless San Diego, and God bless America. Thank you.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Alexis Villanueva, and I'm the chair of the City Heights Economic Development Collaborative Policy Committee. I'm also the senior program manager of City Heights CDC Economic Development Department. City Heights Economic Development Collaborative, CHETSI, is a group of community-based organizations that are committed to the economic stability and mobility of its residents. City Heights has been extremely impacted by COVID, and we believe MECOs can be a help to a lot of our residents' recovery during this time. From the worker who has been laid off and does not have a job to return to, can now look to find a pathway through small business and also care for their children at home while doing so. To the small business that had to have the tough choice of maybe closing or curtailing those operations, now can look at restarting their recovery with MECOs. But also to the young entrepreneur that never thought entrepreneurship could be in their path, they now can see that from their home and start at the very small steps of operations out of their home and look to the big dream of opening a storefront. This is going to provide a lot of opportunity to areas, specifically City Heights, that is made of 90% immigrant or refugees who never thought economic mobility or sustainability could be in their future. We encourage you, CHETSI, to fully support MECOs and legalizing the opportunity for many, many residents of City Heights to continue to find a dream here. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Board of Supervisors. My name is Katia Callahan, and I am a resident
city of Chula Vista, and I am also the one admin of a group page that has about 21,000 followers that I created during pandemic to support restaurant and small businesses. The reason why I'm supporting the approval of AB 626 law is because as a citizen, as a community lover, I believe that it will be a great benefit for many families who cook at home, unfortunately under the shadows, so for necessity, or maybe that they want to grow, or their cottage business license. More now after a pandemic, many families have had to reinvent their wheels due to a loss of their jobs, or maybe a loss of their spouses, and cooking is often the only talent that they have. And and what better way to do it is to a legal way that will also generate revenue for our cities. So I will consider, voting yes to the MICO law. Thank you.
Hello, Board of Supervisors. My name is Diana Tapiz. I am the legal owner and chef of Tres Fuegos Cocina, and I would like to read to you a little part of my experience owning participating in a commercial kitchen. Tres Fuegos Cocina was launched out of a fully equipped commercial kitchen space that we were able to rent out December 2019. While it was a fulfilling experience to learn how to run a larger scale food operation out of a commercial kitchen, the overhead expenses and difficulties of operating during COVID made it challenging. The biggest challenge, however, was balancing my family and taking care of my young children while operating the business from a commercial kitchen. My priority is to be there for my children, so I had to make the decision and give up the kitchen and shut down my business. If MICO's became a reality in San Diego County, I can restart Tres Fuegos Cocina as a legal home business and continue to share my food and culture while having the flexibility to take care of my kids. I will be able to earn supplemental income for my family and continue to learn the ropes of the food industry. It will help me pursue my dream of operating a successful food business that benefits the community. Our journey to one day open a restaurant continues, but cooking from home will allow us to do what I love: cooking, contributing, and following city guidelines to serve safe food. Vote yes. Thank you.
As the next speaker is coming forward, I'll call forward the remaining speakers in person on this item: Ryan Rosento, David Sims, Halima Parker, Nayeli Gutierrez, and Noemi Abrego.
Good morning, everybody. Wow, I feel nervous being up here. I don't get nervous, but I am. Well, I wanted to...
You're doing great, don't worry about it.
Okay, my name is Antonio Cavaljan. I am, I'm the PR for Tres Fuegos Cocina. I was also the kitchen manager. I do hold a Serve Safe, permit. Food handlers as well. I just want to come and make a point. We did start in a commercial kitchen, which was a great way to start. However, we did not count with so many overhead expenses, which pretty much put us out of business within a couple months. This movement of amigos, I believe it's amazing. It's a great way to get all of us, all the underground kitchens, give us a chance to get out there, taste our amazing food. I'm amazed by the turnout we had. I didn't know it was that many people, but if you guys can approve this, it would be a help for everybody. I always support local businesses. I also support in doing business the right way, getting the right permits, the licenses, taxes, everything that's needed, corporations, etc. Everything that's needed. I'm excited for this movement. We got great support out here helping us. It's up to you guys and whoever has to take a vote on this. But I ask that you guys help us get this approved so we could bring some good food out there and make it legal and make everybody happy with food. Thank you guys for giving us a chance. Have a good day.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. I am Chef Ryan Rizzuto, the Executive Chef of Kitchens for Good, and I am joined today by Kitchens for Good CEO Jennifer Gilmore. I have the honor of speaking today on behalf of Kitchens for Good and the justice-impacted community we serve in support of San Diego County opting into the Homemade Food Operations Act and the implementation of MACO licensing in San Diego County. As a nonprofit that incubates the dreams of our culinary, baking, and food service management apprentices, I feel compelled to share with you what the first day of our cohort feels like. When our 26 new apprentices were asked if they had dreams of owning their own food establishments, 24 hands shot up in the air. Soon the classroom was abuzz with the sounds of business brainstorming with their new classmates. Akia wants to own a gourmet ice cream truck. Jeannie is eager to sell her inventive vegan creations to friends and family, and Maritza is envisioning the packaging of her artisanal salsas. In our kitchen, we honor these dreams and aim to make them a reality for our apprentices. We educate our cohorts on current food safety standards and build their culinary confidence so they can continue their learning on the job at restaurants throughout San Diego County. But as a culinary entrepreneur myself, the chef owner of culinary pop-up Southside Biscuits, I know firsthand how challenging and financially prohibitive it can be to navigate the local laws of establishing a food business. By passing MACO licensing in San Diego County, you can be a part of fostering a more inclusive and equitable food economy for our city and help us rebuild our food service industry so heavily affected by COVID-19. Thank you for taking this step to increase healthy food access in our communities and legitimize an important lever of economic empowerment and equity for our apprentices and fellow culinary entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is David Sims. I represent Warung Riri. Warung is the Indonesian name for a traditional restaurant or small family business. 2 years ago, we imported a small traditional rice hut from Bali that we had dismantled and brought back here. It's an antique one that we put together in our backyard, and at the time thought MECO was already implemented because the city's website wasn't very well written. So as we started our journey, my boss and my wife, Chef Ree, we started doing a fine dining experience. And so what we offer is a 3 to 6 course meal that you come with only your party. You eat, you dine, it's exclusive. People aren't coming and going, so parking's minimal. And in between services, we clean and sanitize. So we feel the program that we're running at home is exactly what Amico is made for. We've had viral videos put out about us. We have support from the Indonesian consulate in both Los Angeles and Washington, D.C., as well as Jakarta. We've had quite a few Yelp reviews, and I'd like to read you just a short excerpt from one. During this pandemic, and now with the Delta variant raging, how wonderful and exhilarating it was to escape and teleport to a rice house in Bali, actually Serra Mesa, and dine on delicately prepared Indonesian food. Even better for the COVID wary, you are the only party dining in this exclusive experience. So for us, yes, we're one of those horrible people that are underground, and I'm coming to you today to say, we want to pay taxes. We already have insurance of over $3 million policy on our property just for this. We want to help serve San Diego, and thank you so much for your time. We hope you'll vote yes.
How you doing? Good morning, Vice Chairman Vargas. I remember seeing you at our ending celebration at the Convention Center. Good to see you again. How are you doing? And how are you doing, Board of Supervisors? My name is Halima Parker, and I'm with Access Microenterprise Program, and I'm with a nonprofit here. And I'm here to ask you guys to be considerate with MECOS, because I started 6 years with my business with the Microenterprise Program, and did classes, I did workshops through the business. I went to culinary school, and I started in August of 2020 of last year, started my business, and I had to close down. I started in City Heights setting up, and over quarantine, I got my my licensing, and I was backwards and forth setting my licensing, backwards and forth, and I finally had got my licensing. My nonprofit Microenterprise workers helped me get these licensing, and I want to do a foundation for the homeless, and I would like to really get MECOS going on because I believe if I was able to do my business now, I would be able to feed the homeless out of my home and be able to get money for a food truck to be able to go out and help the community. And also, I also advocate for other business owners and help them get licensing, and they would not be able to get their licensing. This would really help them to get their licensing. Mikos, I know a friend of mine, she went through some kind of situation where somebody had told on her and said that she was, the people had, the health department came to her house and said she couldn't sell her food. So I'm speaking for one of those persons out there in the community in City Heights. Can you please pass Mikos for her? Because she's a single parent with 2 kids, and she wants to continue to sell her food in the community. And I'm a partner with her, and I would like to make sure that the community, black and brown people, will be able to serve food in the community so we can get our culture out there, our diversity for the community, and be able to, go out and be able to mingle with people and meet new people and help other people out there with Mikos, let them know that this is an opportunity that we can make income and make a bigger purpose in San Diego.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, Board of Supervisors. My name is Nayeli Gutierrez. I'm a San Diego native, born and raised here. This is Eros. We are both residents of District 1. I am here to ask you guys to support Mikos. It's very evident the pandemic put a lot of small businesses, especially restaurants, underground. Many restaurants were not able to accommodate the requirements. A lot didn't have space. A lot of them they couldn't make it through the pandemic. And then now with inflation on the rise, I think it's very important that people have the opportunity to start something entrepreneurial without many overhead costs that could help them succeed in not only taking care of their children, being at home with their children, and yeah. So thank you guys. I hope you guys support Mikos, and I hope to hear from you guys soon. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Noemi Abrego. I'm a San Diego native, and I am here in support of this. I know a lot of businesses did shut down and had to illegally, be underground because, I think Nathan Fletcher had authorized for small businesses to close, and I'm sure you were part of that too, and you too, Tara. So, yeah, legal action will be, you're not exempt from the law. If you know, and if you're not taken down today, you will be soon, regardless of what you think. And that's why they have a legal counsel behind them, and that's why legal action will be taking place. Maybe not today, but it will be. So please support it, and if not, then you know what's coming.
Next, now we'll hear from those that requested to speak by phone. We'll be calling speakers by the last 4 digits of their phone number. You will hear a notification that your call has been unmuted. You will then need to press *6 to unmute your line. We'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record. I'll remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. And if you could please identify the first caller.
Our first caller is 5871. 5871, please press *6 to unmute.
Hello. Good afternoon. I am calling in regards to these home-based Miko kitchens. I would encourage the County Board of Supervisors to conduct some additional test studies of these.
Excuse me, can you please state your name for the audio record?
Yes, my name is Leah Waters. I am in City District 3, Council County District 4. And I am calling in regards to the home kitchen micro enterprises. I would suggest that the Board of Supervisors take additional time to conduct additional studies of the impact of these businesses with the community. My family and I have been negatively impacted by a underground ghost kitchen, home kitchen operation that's impacting our indoor air quality. from hazardous air pollutants and toxins from their improper indoor use of portable combustion appliances in an adjoining apartment unit. And I'm also concerned about the excessive food production and the production of food in areas not intended for food production, such as in bathrooms, bedrooms, closets, all improper areas for food production and all without sufficient ventilation. Since the people operating these businesses have been operating as unauthorized businesses or as underground ghost kitchens without any supervision or regulation, we don't see that they would abide to any such regulation. We've had to, during COVID, when our respiratory health is vital, we've gone to emergency rooms and had to seek health assistance. We've had to call the fire department.
Your time is up. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next caller is 4353. 4353. Please press *6 to unmute. 4353.
Hi, this is Ricardo Flores. I'm the Executive Director of MISC San Diego. Wanted to call and support Supervisor Nora Vargas and Supervisor Joel Anderson for your bringing forth this very common sense, smart proposal to support our families in entrepreneurship. And I also just want to say, listening a little bit from the comments here, I want to thank the supervisors for your work. I know it's not easy what you do, but some of the abuse you take is unnecessary. So thank you for standing strong for our communities. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0389. 0389. Please press *6 to unmute. 0389. Please press *6 to unmute.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jessica Claybaugh. I live in District 5. I will point out once, permitted, I'm sure the Department of Health will make sure that everybody uses proper food preparation practices. I'd like to thank Supervisors Vargas and Anderson for bringing this to the board. I think it's common sense and a long time coming. COVID has amplified the need for economic opportunities for the residents of the county's rural areas. Adoption of this ordinance would be life-changing for many in the backcountry. Dining options and affordable food and promising career opportunities are spare to non-existent even before the pandemic. Many small restaurants and resorts have been the only employment option out here, and a lot of those jobs are limited. There's no Instacart, no Uber Eats, no DoorDash in my neighborhood of Warner Springs. The majority of the population is elderly, and I think this would be a great opportunity to provide food for the at-risk population that doesn't want to travel into town during this time. Similarly, I work in Verizon Springs, which is an FSTAT community. Many of the residents have been put out of work due to COVID, and I've seen a lot turning to home-based kitchen operations and operating without a permit because they feel they have no other options. Should the board approve this, I think these barren backcountry communities will find new ways to thrive, and they'll be able to support themselves while giving to the local community and providing access to safe, affordable, healthy foods with the option of contactless meetups or home delivery. And I really do urge your support on this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 0978. 0978. Please press *6 to unmute.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Peter Ruddick. I am the Policy Director of Cook Alliance. We are the sponsors of AB 626, and we are great supporters of home cooks and other micro enterprises in San Diego and all around the state and hopefully beyond. We not only are supporting all of the counties, including yours, that have opted in. Thank you for reflecting our statistics, Supervisor Vargas. But we are looking to support counties as things move forward with education and studies, cook training, working with internet food service providers. We know there are new things here. We know there are concerns. What the first phone speaker said about her neighbors is something I find horrible. We believe that most home cooks are going to behave well, especially if they are educated and permitted and know how to behave well. We acknowledge that some of them won't, and if the caller's description is accurate, that business should absolutely be shut down. But we want to address this from a positive standpoint. You've heard all of the good advantages. You've heard a lot of passion. We think that this program has so much potential, and we're in it for the long run as supporters. So you can imagine that I'm thrilled that you're talking about this and encourage you to move forward strongly and know that we're there with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 6392. 6392, please press *6 to unmute.
Hi, yes, good morning. This is Elizabeth Schott, the CEO of Accessity, formerly known as Acción San Diego. We are a nonprofit organization that's worked in the San Diego community for almost 30 years, supporting both access to capital through loans plus education and resources for entrepreneurs, primarily those of low to moderate income, entrepreneurs of color, women, and immigrants. We are strongly encouraging the board to support the use of microenterprise home kitchens. We believe that this provides not only economic opportunity for these microenterprise owners, it allows them to build self-sufficiency for themselves and their families. It also provides an opportunity for these entrepreneurs to start something small with not a lot of overhead cost and grow into something larger, which ultimately will have benefits economically and positive benefits for the community long term as they grow into larger businesses and can support jobs in our local community. We also believe that this will increase food access to communities where access is not as viable, and so we urge you to support this effort. And we've also worked across other regions in California that this has been a really positive thing, particularly for entrepreneurs of color, those of low to moderate income, women, and other immigrant populations that have been disproportionately affected over the course of the last 2 years. So we would urge you to support this, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Our next caller is 6553. 6553, please press *6 to unmute. 6553, please press *6 to unmute.
Good morning. My name is Lauren Wolfer. I am a food justice advocate in Riverside County, also a certified farmers market manager. I am asking the Board of Supervisors to opt into AB 626 and establish a permit system for MECOs. Although MECO permit holders in Riverside County or throughout the state aren't allowed to sell their food at the farmers market, we do have a great deal of vendors that participate in a similar program known as cottage food permit that has turned out to be very successful since it was first implemented 10 years ago, despite having much of the same concerns and opposition that we see against MECOs today. Now, a cottage food permit allows someone to make shelf-stable goods for sale in their inspected home kitchen. So it's a lot of baked goods, jams and preserves, things like that. Cottage food is now legal in all of the United States, and there has not been a single established foodborne illness outbreak from an inspected home kitchen in the entire country in the 10 years since this has began. I believe that MECOs are really best understood as an expansion of cottage food, given the caps and restrictions. There is a lot of safeguarding for health and sanitation, and also a lot of safeguards against potential nuisance issues. I think sometimes with home restaurants, people picture a full-blown restaurant that could be creating, parking and traffic issues in a residential neighborhood, but really this is not the case. Very limited, very similar to cottage food, where people are quietly running a small business in their home kitchen. And I just want to say the other perspective I have as a farmers market manager is, we do a lot of work with community nutrition, We have community nutrition incentive programs to get people in food deserts and low-income folks better access to,
Thank you.
To fresh
Thank
produce.
you. Your time is up. Next caller, please.
Our next caller is 6797. 6797, please press *6 to unmute.
Good morning, Chair Fletcher, Vice Chair Vargas, and Supervisors. My name is Summer Bales, and I'm speaking on behalf of the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce, whose mission is to make the San Diego region the best place to live and work. The Chamber is pleased to support authorizing microenterprise home kitchen operations in San Diego County. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused severe economic impacts on our regional economy and has disproportionately affected women, people of color, younger workers, and low-income workers. MICOS creates economic opportunities for small-scale operators who are mostly operated by women, immigrants, and people of color, and creates a legal framework for their businesses to thrive. This initiative is an important step towards legitimizing microenterprise in San Diego and promoting economic opportunity for all San Diegans. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Vice Chair Vargas, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you very much. I think we have Supervisor Lasrimo want to make comments?
Yes, I do. First of all, thank you so much for bringing this. I think this is really fantastic and really exciting. And unfortunately, our other colleague isn't here who's your co-author, but this is great. You know, I personally love small businesses. I love tamales. I love supporting our local micro enterprises. And I just think it's so important to give people an opportunity to make money and get paid and support our families. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna be supporting this. Let's get paid, let's make tamales, you know, this is great.
And thank you. Any other comments?
Yes. Thank you. Madam Vice Chair, I got a question for staff. Where are they? Oh, here they are. Here's Sarah. Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. Okay, once we do this, and I'm all in favor of it. I think it's wonderful. It's a great idea. I look forward to eating it or getting food from one of these MICOs. So, okay, but I'm in the government, so would our action allow cities to, let's say a city doesn't want to do this in San Diego County, can they opt out?
Under the existing legislation and law, cities would not be able to opt out of allowing micro-enterprise home kitchen operations within their city jurisdictions.
I kind of hate usurping local government on things. It's all right, I'm going to vote for it. But anyway, I just kind of want to know what we're getting into. And so they would not, could they put in any parking restrictions or things like that? And I'm just, if they can't disallow it, can they manage it differently?
And I'm going to ask Greg as well from County Council to come up to the podium, but I'll start the response to that. No, as far as the limitations are concerned, when it comes to traffic impacts, we would be prevented as far as the local jurisdiction, whether city or in unincorporated counties, for county to be able to put some limitations or parameters around the traffic impacts.
Okay.
Through the chair, board members, good morning. I'm Greg Lusitana. I'm the Senior Deputy County Counsel, Counselor for DEHQ. The MICO law has some specific restrictions that it does allow, but generally no, it allows for the kitchen to freely operate and so on and so forth in residential areas. The governing bodies or the local jurisdictions cannot regulate through zoning procedures. However, there are two exceptions. One is signage, and the other is noise regulations. So, and then also the local agencies, meaning the cities, can also still use their general nuisance enforcement authority. Those are the specified in the ordinance. Otherwise, no, zoning regulations are not allowed.
Okay, and unfortunately, in any instance, anywhere, there's always a couple of bad actors. I just want to make sure that that can be eliminated, or dealt with, I guess. So what's the signage restriction? Do you know offhand?
Yes.
Not in legalese?
Well, I'm reading from the legislation, so it might be in legalese. I apologize. Let's see here. An operation shall be permitted use in a residential property if the operation complies with both the following criteria: abstain from posting signage or other outdoor displays advertising the operation.
So, okay, so it just sounds like no signage at all.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
all right. Well, yeah, I think it's a wonderful thing. I kind of wish cities had their own jurisdiction over it, but I think it's, give it a try. Actually, I guess we're not really authorizing it at this point in time. We're asking staff to come back in 120 days with an ordinance or a plan that would authorize it, so we're not necessarily doing that now. But I guess if we could get, more input, concerning parking, zoning, things like that. And then I've heard from a couple of restaurants, they think this is wonderful, but they're under the full cost recovery for inspections. Is that going to be applied as well for inspections?
Supervisor Desmond, it would be. We would be coming back with full cost recovery.
Well, I think it's a great idea. I'm willing to support it. And thanks very much I've never heard of them. Thanks for the presentation and information. Thanks.
Well, thank you. And I just want to emphasize again that Supervisor Anderson wasn't able to be here, but this is something that was also dear and near to his heart. And I think this is also, when we hear back from staff, I think it's really important to encourage that relationship with cities. I think that was our intent, to make sure that we're not surpassing anyone, but we're working directly with them. And we, at least in District 1, we have heard very favorably from our folks. And I'm sure Supervisor Anderson has some comments as well. So now with that, I'll turn it over to our clerk for our vote.
We'll see if our voting system catches up to us. Looks like it's not, so we'll go ahead and do a voice vote. Supervisor Lawson-Remer?
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond?
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas?
Vargas, aye.
That motion passes with all supervisors who are present voting aye.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you. At each meeting, we're going to continue. At each meeting, I will ask if any of you want to provide a brief update report on progress or share pertinent information during this time. So I'm going to ask, do you have any reports, colleagues, to give?
I only have that tomorrow night is a community engagement panel committee meeting that is put on by Songs for the San Onofre nuclear generating system. System or whatever it is. I got most of it. But so that meeting is tomorrow night. So for the public to speak out and be heard on issues concerning nuclear waste there that needs to be removed and the site itself. So have that tomorrow night. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Lawson? No? All right. I just want to share that today is the start of Hispanic Heritage Month. And so for the first time in the history of I'm going to ask that you conduct yourself. Today is the first day for us to celebrate the Hispanic Heritage Month, and we're really excited that for the first time in the history of the County of San Diego, we're going to be lighting up our building in honor of our community. And so you're all welcome to join us this evening at about 6:30 in the afternoon. So thank you for that. All right, we'll now proceed with adjournments in memory. I'm going to refer we have 2 adjournments in memory. I'm going to turn it over to Supervisor Jim Desmond in memory of the 5 sailors lost off the coast of San Diego in a helicopter crash.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I'd like to adjourn today's meeting in memory of the 5 sailors who crashed off the coast of San Diego in their Navy Nighthawk helicopter.
Excuse me, just give me a minute. Excuse me. Can you please take your conversations outside? Excuse me.
You're criminals.
I am, but can you please continue? Please take your conversation outside. This is a very important item. Jesus Christ. Sorry, Supervisor Desmond.
Get your applause from the people because you actually listen to them. But do you listen
Supervisor,
to the people?
we need you to be, please.
You're going to be upseated. Do you realize that?
Sergeant, can you please remove her from the chamber?
Engaging in civil rights violations. Are you going to assault me again or what? Because you like to do that. All of you guys are fucking ridiculous.
Thank you, Supervisor Desmond. Sorry about that.
Keep your seat warm because it's going to be
there. Okay, thank you again. I'd like to adjourn today's meeting in memory of the 5 sailors who crashed off the coast of San Diego County in their Navy Nighthawk helicopter and where they were tragically killed on August 31st during a routine flight operation, which are never routine, while landing on the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier. The 5 sailors, they made the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of this nation. May we never forget these young heroes and their legacy as we mourn together. And with a heavy heart, we thank, honor, and salute their service to the United States of America. The Navy crew members were Lieutenant Bradley Foster, 29 years old, who was a pilot from Oakhurst, California. Lieutenant Paul Fridley, 28 years old, a pilot from Annandale, Virginia. A Naval Air Crewman, 2nd class, James Buriak, 31 years old, from Salem, Virginia. A Hospital Corpsman, 2nd class, Sarah Burns, 31, from Severna Park, Maryland. And Hospital Corpsman, 3rd class, Bailey Tucker, 21 years old, from St. Louis. So please keep these sailors in your thoughts and prayers, and our deepest condolences go out to their family and loved ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Desmond. The final adjournment will be presented by myself in memory of Yolanda Lopez. Today, I want to, and it's very fitting that it's on Hispanic Heritage Month, I want to make sure that we adjourn in memory of Yolanda Lopez, a world-renowned artist who elevated Latino women in her work, a fierce activist within the civil rights movement of the 1960s. She was born in San Diego in 1942 and grew up in Logan Heights, a granddaughter of Mexican immigrants. She positioned herself at the intersection of art and activism and used her paintings, posters, and works to empower the Latino community. After graduating high school, she moved to San Francisco and became involved in civil rights groups. She participated in 1968 strike at San Francisco State College that successfully established the first ethnic studies program. And after undergraduate studies at several universities, Yolanda received a Master's of Fine Arts degree from UC San Diego in 1979. The library at University of California, Santa Barbara is home to a special research collection of Yolanda Lopez's papers spanning 3 decades from 1961 to 1998 and includes a history of her professional development as an artist and an activist. San Diego State University students studying Chicano history and the arts learn about the work and activism of Yolanda Lopez, including her part in creating murals for Chicano Park to inspire and empower young women artists. Yolanda Lopez Portrait of the Arts is scheduled to open next month at the Museum of Contemporary Art in San Diego. She is survived by her sisters and her son, and today we adjourn in her memory and honor. Thank you. With that, I am now going to resume non-agenda public comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Vargas. Any members of the public that requested to speak today on matters not listed on the agenda that requested to speak by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. Again, we'll be calling speakers by the last 4 digits of their phone number. You'll hear a notification that your call has been unmuted. You will then need to press *6 to unmute your line. We'll ask each caller to please state their name for the audio record. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. And if you could please identify the first caller.
Our first caller is 2965. 2965. Please press *6 to unmute.
Hi, good morning, Supervisors. This is KB Strange. As a pharmacist, I wanted to provide an update to last Thursday's news conference and follow-up media where physicians and pharmacists announced a program to inform patients regarding interactions between marijuana and their prescription drugs. There were 17 pharmacies, including 3 in the Scripps system, 8 in the Sharp-Reed-Steely system, and several independent pharmacies. And they'll be distributing about 12,000 flyers as part of the pilot program. Among other information, the flyers will direct patients to a website to check whether cannabis interacts with the patient's medications. This is very important because there are some medications that should never be taken with THC or CBD marijuana products, and others taken only with caution. For example, drugs.com lists 26 drugs known to have a major interaction with cannabis and 354 that have moderate interactions. In addition to the THC and CBD, marijuana products often contain adulterants, which also can cause drug interactions. So, as a pharmacist, I have to ask, why now do you want more marijuana vaping and smoking products sold in unincorporated areas of the county when there are still far too many questions and far too few answers? Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 9887. 9887. Please press *6 to unmute. 9887. Please press *6 to unmute. Our next caller is 7159. 7159, please press *6 to unmute. 7159, please press *6 to unmute.
Good morning, good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. As a father, grandfather, and concerned constituent, I follow consumer trends. I have been especially interested in the work the board has done to push back on the predatory strategies of the tobacco industry, like tobacco retailing, licensing, smoke-free housing, and public places, and a ban on flavored tobacco products.
Excuse me, can you please state your name for the audio record?
I'm sorry, Mark Wilcox.
Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, tobacco companies are now aiming to pivot into marijuana industries where there are less protections. Altria, the owner of Philip Morris, has invested more than $2 billion in the marijuana industry, not to mention its 35% stake in Juul Labs, the e-cigarette company that is extremely popular among adolescents and young adults. Altria is lobbying for and on behalf of marijuana businesses at the state and federal levels. Imperial Brands, the world's 5th largest tobacco company, and British American Tobacco are also angling to get into this business. We've been fooled before by big tobacco and its advertising. Remember, tobacco products still kill more people than opioids. Tobacco companies spent decades lying about the dangers of smoking. Now, cannabis capitalists are seizing on Prop 64 that was meant to protect individual rights to possess and use marijuana and turn it into a mandate for marijuana businesses. This is a danger to public health and safety because there are no limitations on advertising or marijuana potency or ban on any form of flavored or child-friendly products such as vapes and candies. Respectfully, I strongly recommend the county put a ban in place on flavored or child-friendly products such as vapes and candies, as we have done for tobacco. Thank you.
Last call for 9887. 9887. Please press *6 to unmute. 9887.
Hi, my name is Carol Green. I'm sorry I missed you earlier. I wanted to ask a question. I was on a call earlier on Monday about the cannabis ordinance, and some questions were asked, and what I don't know is how we'll get those answers back. So some of the questions that were asked were about statistics about DUI, driving, and consumption lounges that are being considered. And another question that was asked was about the any statistics or studies that you might have that are about the black market and the reduction of the black market due to further access. And what I don't know is I've gone to a couple of these meetings and I've always told that I'll get these answers back, but then I don't know how those answers will be back. So I'd like to please request that their answers are put on the website or that they're emailed back to the people that participated in the workshop. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Vargas, that concludes the request under non-agenda public communication from yesterday as well as today. That concludes the business before the board. This morning, the board will take a 30-minute recess and then go into closed session to consider those matters listed under item 14 on yesterday's agenda. If there are any reportable actions, they will be reported out after the conclusion of closed session today.
Thank you.